Ayan na mga kameta. Kamusta kayo dyan? This is it. This is it. Talagang yung laban sa politika. Laban or bawi. Talagang nag-all out mode na yung isang kampo yata eh. Ito na mga kameta. May mga developments na tayo sa International Criminal Court. Or not necessarily with the ICC itself, but at least efforts to make sure na papasok ng ICC at magkakaroon ng masinsina na pagsusuri dun sa human rights record ng nakaraan na administration, and particularly it looks like hindi lang si dating President Digong, hindi lang si Senator West Philippines si Bato de la Rosa, mukhang ba't yung Vice Presidente ay medyo dinadamay na dito sa mga ICC investigation na yan. Of course, not to mention simultaneously, there are also efforts by other people, including folks in Malaysia, to push for also ICC investigation, not against Tatay, but someone who was close to Tatay, and someone that Tatay tried to give advice to in light of recent conflict in the Middle East. Of course, ito yung Prime Minister ng Israel, si Benjamin Netanyahu. So, nagpo-push ang a number of lawyers from Southeast Asia for ICC cases naman laban sa isa pang leader na kaibigan din ni Digong nung time na presidente siya at bumisita siya sa gitnang silangan. So maraming nangyari mga kameta, but what's interesting here is katulad nung pinost natin video kahapon, katulad dun sa mga post natin right and left mga kamets, eto na mga kamets, ito katulad ng mga pinost natin over the past few days. Eto na, mukhang may openness or may push at the very least. Well, there's a push and then there's an openness to a resolution being passed sa Philippine Congress para talagang seryosoy na itong ICC investigation efforts. Katulad ng sinasabi naman natin parate, kung wala naman kailangan itago, diba? Kung wala naman ginawang masamang nakaraan na administration, huwag silang mag-alala kasi itong mga ICC investigator na yan ay hindi mga bara-barang investigator. Ito yung hindi mga kunyari lang gagawa magpa-plant ng evidence, sasabihin nila na nanlaban kung may hindi, mga legit international lawyers and investigators mga yan. Kung talagang walang nagawang mali ang mga nakaraan na administration, dapat wala silang ikakatakot. And after all, 'di ba, unity team naman ang nanalo in 22 elections, hindi naman yung tipong parang mga dilawan na nanalo or mga pinklawan na nanalo, hindi naman mga nareretag ang nanalo. Ang nanalo naman ay isang Marcos Jr. So ano naman i-worry nila just in case magkakaroon ng fair, thorough, comprehensive investigation dun sa mga allegations ng mass atrocities sa ilalim ng nakaraan na administration. Now, obviously, things are interesting and things are complicated because may mga multiple layers, no? May multiple layers dito. May interplay ng multiple factors and games dito na pag-usapan natin very shortly. Now, things are getting so heated. Medyo mainit-init ng laban to the degree to which na bati si President Rodrigo Duterte, former President Rodrigo Duterte, who said last year na magre-retire na siya, matanda na siya. Ilang beses niya sinabi nung presidente siya, naalala niyo, parating niya sinasabi na matanda na ako, pagod na ako. Di ba nagdrama siya ng ganun parati? Ayan. Ngayon, nagte-threaten na siya na magra-run na siya for Senate. Nako, ito na naman. Kung maalala niyo last year, ilang beses yung ginawa nila, mga kalokohan na ginawa nila ng 2016, binabastos talaga yung mga institusyon natin, di ba? Yung tatakbo, tapos hindi tatakbo. Yung last year naman tatakbo sa Vice President, tapos hindi na tumakbong Vice President, tapos tatakbong Senate, tapos di tumakbo ng Senado. Yung mga ganyan, alam mo naman, yung mga pang barangay politics level na yun na mga kababalagan ng ginawa nila last year. Now, let's see if siseryosoin nila yun. But you can see that the threat of running, the threat of coming out of supposed retirement, it's a reflection of something going on the ground, no, mga kamets, no? So pag-usapan natin yan. So unang-una, let's go to a number of news. Now, si Vice President Sara Duterte ay nag-issue ng statement ukol dito sa ICC investigation and potentially even herself being ensnared in a potential investigation. But before that, pag-usapan naman natin yung paborito natin senador, di ba? Si Senator Bato de la Rosa. Talagang the best yan ng senator na yan eh. Saan nawala na naman nawala na yung pictures. Ilabas natin yung Sir, nasaan ka na, sir? Bakit di lumalabas? Lagyan natin dito. Yan. Okay. Ito mga kameta. Nako, sa kakaano natin tuloy. Nasaan ka na? Nasaan yung picture ni Bato? Yung article about Bato. Kailangan natin labas dito kasi kailangan natin pag-usapan. So, confident si Bossing Bato na makakalusot siya dito. Sabi niya, he's very confident daw na malulusutan niya itong potential ICC probe, no? Pag-usapan natin 'yan. So, kapag nandyan yan, wala tayong magawa kundi harapin. Harapin yan. Talagang yan, parang telenovela yan na face the music. Kumbaga, face the music. So, Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa, sinabi niya today, November 23rd, Thursday, nag-express siya ng confidence na wala yan, kaya natin yan. So, sa isang interview with Teleradyo Serbisyo, sabi ni Senator na nag-wondered aloud siya kung kailangan niya mag-cooperate doon sa ICC probe with the government. President Marcos Jr. was even reluctant about it earlier this year. Siyempre, kung maalala niya, in June sabi ni President Marcos Jr. na wala tayong magkakaroon ng cooperation dyan because of our sovereignty. But obviously, iba na yung inip ng hangin. No? The tone has changed from the government. We'll discuss that very shortly. So, sabi ni Bato, bakit ako magko-cooperate? Bakit ako magbigay ng deposition? Bakit ako magbigay ng counter affidavit kung ating gobyerno nga ayaw makipag-cooperate sa kanila? Well, that's now debatable. That's now very debatable. So in English, why would I cooperate? Why would I give my deposition? Why would I give a counter affidavit if our government itself doesn't want to cooperate with them? Of course, this is a little bit 4 months late. Kapag nandyan yan, but still very confidential. Kung naman nandyan yan, wala tayong magawa kundi harapin yan. I am very confident naman na malulusutan ko yan kung kasama ako. Alright, so sabi na, if the probe is there, dapat, if the probe pushes through, I have no choice but to face it. I will face it. I am very confident I will get through it if ever I were part of it. Ay, sino naman yung translation sa English? Naayos ko pa yung translation tuloy. Ayan tayo. So, of course, si Senator Bato de la Rosa, bago siya naging senador, bago siya nagsasayaw doon sa laro ng Philippines Gilas, ganon, siya pa yung PNP chief. And of course, as PNP chief, siya yung nag-oversee ng drug war, yung Tokang, and of course, the accusations is that thousands, if not tens of thousands of ordinary Filipinos, mostly poor Filipinos, including hundreds of children, may have been victims of extrajudicial killing. No? So, si Bato yung una nag-express ng concern. Si Vice President Sara Duterte also nag-respond na kanyang opisina dito. Meron siyang very strong statement. No? This is the statement by Sara Duterte, Office of Vice President Sara Duterte, ukol dito sa issue na yan, issue ng ICC. Basahin po natin ito. Nasaan na yung eyeglasses ko? Tumanda na tayo. Nasaan na? Bakit chase na dito? Okay. In light of the sudden unannounced joint meetings being convened in the House of Representatives regarding the International Criminal Court jurisdiction over our country, I respectfully remind our honorable lawmakers of the very words that our President, His Excellency Ferdinand Marcos Jr. reiterated less than half a year ago. Any probe conducted by ICC would be an intrusion into our internal matters and a threat to our sovereignty. We are done talking with the ICC, like what we have been saying from the beginning. We will not cooperate with them in any way, shape, or form. Of course, I think statement ni BBM, but this is medyo few months ago and a lot has happened since then. Pag-usapan natin shortly. Given this clear standpoint, now, of course, this is what, so yung kanina, kinote si Marcos Jr., ngayon naman, this is a quote from the Office of the Vice President. Given this clear standpoint, sino ba nagsusulat ng mga PR nila? Medyo gandahin nyo naman. Given this clear standpoint, anong klaseng pagsusulat yan? Ay nako, mamaya na tayo mga editorial advice dyan. We urge the House to respect the position of the President, who is the chief architect of our foreign policy. The President has likewise affirmed that his opinion is based on the fact that the ICC ceased to have jurisdiction over the Philippines upon the effectivity of our withdrawal from the Rome Statute on March 7, 2019. to allow ICC prosecutors to investigate alleged crimes that are now under the exclusive jurisdiction of our prosecutors and our courts is not only patently unconstitutional, so unconstitutional daw yan, but effectively belittles and degrades our legal institutions. So okay, huwag natin insultuin at bigyan ng kahiyan ang ating mga hukuman sa pamamagitan ng pagpapakita sa mundo na tayo ay naniniwala na mga dayuhan lang ang tanging may abilidad na magbigay ng katarungan at hustisya sa ating sariling bayan. Shukran. Okay, interesting. Bakit Arabic ang ginamit sa dula? Anyway, interesting. Okay, now, of course, as you know mga kameta, there are a number of counter-arguments to that point. First of all, wag natin kalimutan, yung pagsali natin sa Rome Statute, that had to go through the Senate because the Senate had to ratify it as a matter of treaty. So this was a treaty, the Rome Statute. That is why pinasok ang Supreme Court, there was a petition to the Supreme Court to affirm the fact that when it comes to the issue of the International Criminal Court, this is not just solely the prerogative or jurisdiction of the executive. This is something that the legislature, especially the Senate, has a say or two. So yung sasabihin na architecture of foreign policy, let's not forget that pagdating sa treaties, like the Rome Statute, this has to go to the legislature. This is number one. Number two, sinabi rin ng ICC in the past, and sasabihin sa'yo ng lahat ng mga matinong international humanitarian law or international law experts, na even if umalis ka dun sa ICC few years ago, still, yung mga years na kasama ka sa Rome Statute ay pwede pa rin pasok sa kanilang jurisdiction, and B, sometimes even if you're not member of ICC, you can still face cases by the ICC if it is determined based on evidence and proper investigation that there was indeed any kind of mass atrocities or violation of international humanitarian law. So, pinag-usapan natin yan, yung issue ng jurisdiction. Kaya nga ICC did not buy yung counter-arguments of the administration at least earlier this year. Pangatlo, mahalaga din to mga kameta. Let's keep this in mind. This is very, very important. This is very, very important. Yung issue ng insulto daw sa ating mga hukuman, let's not forget, yes, there's the principle of complementarity. Ibig sabihin, hindi pwedeng pumasok ang ICC or mga international courts sa isang usapin when it comes to human rights, violations, etc. Unless it is established that the local courts or local judicial institutions are not doing their job. Well, if the accusation is there have been thousands, if not tens of thousands of EJKs, and so far you have how many? 1, 2, 3, mabibilang mo sa kamay mo yung mga conviction cases, and there's a huge question there. Are the judicial institutions in the country doing their job or are they up to the task? So under the principle of complementarity, pwede pumasok ang international community or international criminal court in this case if it looks like after how many years na itong accusation of EJK, there's a huge disproportion between the number of convictions or consummated investigations on one hand at saka yung scale ng accusations of human rights violations or mass atrocities. And lastly, well, the thing is, again, kung wala naman maitago, kung wala naman nangyaring mali, then anong dapat maging concern dito? But there's another added element that we have to talk about, and that's very interesting because now this argument that the administration is against ICC coming in is suddenly like, because, interestingly, Jaran, yan, Speaker of the House mismo natin, di ba? Yung Speaker of the House mismo natin ay sinasabi na parang parang alam na, di ba? Meron clamor. Sorry, I'm just trying to put yung picture ni Bato dyan. May clamor na. So, basahin natin ito So, there is a movement in the House of Representatives to urge the government to allow the ICC to come in. All right? So Speaker Martin Romualdez on Thursday refuted, quote, speculations that the House of Representatives is prioritizing the resolution urging the Marcos administration to cooperate with the ICC, just to be clear, investigating alleged EJKs under the former president. But let's talk about this. But at least here, this is an issue of there's a demand. There are a number of legislators who are pushing for this because of the very arguments that we mentioned a while ago, all the 4 points that I mentioned a while ago. So ayon kay Martin Romualdez, this is the sense of the House of Representatives. There were succession of resolutions that are being filed. As a matter of course, we have to read out these bills and resolutions and we have to act on the same, and we have to be sensitive, to be responsive sa mga hinaing ng ating mga kongresista to the concerns of our members. So ito yung sinabi ni House Speaker Martin Romualdez dun sa press conference kanina sa 31st Asia Pacific Parliamentary Forum, APPF. We have to look at it one at a time and within the context of the current events, and that's where we leave it. We don't read much more into it than what other people do, but nevertheless, they're still entitled to their own views and even their speculation, but we'll leave it at that. So the House top leader explained that whatever the Chamber's decision dun sa solution na yan, it would be reflective of the sentiments of the members. In short, do not prevent the sentiments of the Congress to be reflected, right? So basahin lang natin yun. I have something to say also about it because there was another important thing na sinabi ni Martin Romualdez kanina together with presidents of the Senate, Mig Zubira. Of course, both of them are very close allies of the president. So right now, mga kameta, may mga resolutions dyan sa House Committee, no? So I'm just trying to bring this out. Okay, so recently, House Committee on Human Rights Chairperson Benny Abante Jr. of Manila filed House Resolution 1477. Sorry, for some reason, bakit naglo-load itong mga walang yung advertisement na yan. Okay, magulo. Nagbabasa ako dito. House Committee on So ito, yung Resolution 1477 arguing that while the Philippine government already withdrew from being a part of the ICC in March 2019, the ICC and the Supreme Court in the Philippines have maintained that ICC has jurisdiction with respect dun sa alleged crimes against humanity perpetuated under the former Digong administration. Right? Romualdez, interestingly, dun sa press conference kanina, refuted yung sinasabi ni Harry na Speaker had, quote, given his blessing dun sa filing of House Resolution na ICC. Sabi ni Romualdez, our good friend, former spokesman Harry Roque must have thoughts, these ideas. We respect his thoughts and his ideas, but they're not accurate. So I'll just put it that there's nothing to it. All speculations, but none of that is true. In short, huwag kang magmarites. Huwag kang magmarites. Huwag kang magmarites. Now, interestingly mga kameta, kailan sinabi ko, was it factor number 5 or factor number 6? Ito even yung Department of Justice natin ngayon is saying, pakita natin dito mga kameta. Even Department of Justice natin ngayon is saying, why not? Sige, kung talagang, ito talaga mga kamets, talagang politika natin, ang ating bayan, minamahal natin bayan. Okay, ilabas natin ito. So Department of Justice also said, check natin yan. So there is a push in the House of Representatives, right? There's a push in the House of Representatives to review yung initial decision or statement rather by President Marcos. In short, nothing is final. Things could still change. So So Department of Justice Secretary Jesus Crispin Remulla last month 3 weeks ago said there's a need to look into the records of House of Representatives amid renewed calls from lawmakers to allow the ICC to probe the Duterte administration. So ito yung sinabi niya na hindi lang second-hand or third-hand sources, kinakailangan humingi kami ng transmittal sa Kongreso tungkol sa mga usapin at dito sa mga detalyeng nangyayari at sa mga ifa-file na resolusyon kung anong nangyayari sa komite bago ito lumabas. So ito kasi mahalaga pagkat ako ay mamapatas dati, alam ko naman na may mga basihan nito, may pinangailangan nito at may pinaguhugutan. Kailangan makita namin ang mga naging usapin dito. So the current DOJ secretary saying, well, we're our ears are open. I mean, we are open to ideas and suggestions. So in short, hindi tapos, hindi final yung position ng government. In fact, this was said by the DOJ weeks earlier. And now it looks like there's more and more push dun sa sa Kongreso to discuss the issue of ICC. Now, I want to add also something interesting because kanina dun sa press conference si Romualdez at saka si Mig Zubiri, interestingly dun sa kanilang konferensya, pinag-usapan din nila yung kahalagaan ng Pilipinas in terms of leveraging yung international legal instruments like the United Nations Convention Law of the Sea. So, kung ang position natin dito is dapat, we stand on the side of rule of law, that we have to make sure we leverage international legal instrument, then to obstinately oppose ICC investigation, I don't think the two are necessarily reconcilable, no matter what kind of diplomatic mumbo-jumbo or discursive games you want to play, no? So, ito yung sinasabi natin, mga kameta. There seems to be an opening suddenly right now in the administration to at least revisiting the idea of ICC probe. There's more push towards that. And all of this, of course, in one way or another, cannot be separated, mga kameta, cannot be separated from the broader implosion in the unity na nakikita natin. Not at the level of BBM and Sara, because BBM still says nice things about Sara, na they're still friends, and he tries to still project this above the fray kind of image. But alam natin na things are already moving on the ground, in the legislature, on multiple fronts. Kaya nga si Digong, nag-threaten na siya na potentially pwede siyang tumakbo as a Senate. And in fact, recently, I think yung mga supporters ni Tatay Digong, yun, mga ka-DDS, dyan! Kamusta kayo dyan? There were, parang iba yata nagsispread ng itong, survey daw na pinapakita ng number 1 si Digong para sa Senate. Okay. Nako, parang kalabanin niya kalaban ni Erwin yan, si Sir Tulfo yan. Let's see. So, Digong right now is openly saying na, umayos-ayos kayo dyan. Because, this is not only about the ICC probe. This could potentially go towards even impeachment of the current vice president. So, sensing the danger to his daughter, being a protective father that he is, and also sensing the broader shifts dun sa political landscape, eto si Digong ay nagsasabi na, pwede na ako sumali, no? Sa usapan, I'll throw my hat into the ring, or whatever is left of his hat in the ring. So, ito sabi niya, ito yung sinabi ni Digong. Alright? Dun sa SMNI, yung pinaka number 1 media sa Pilipinas daw. Okay, sabi niya, referring dun sa potential moves or attempts to impeach si Sara Duterte. Sabi niya, if you do that, I'll return to politics. I will be forced to. Bakit? Nasa politika naman siya eh. It is either I will run for senator or I will run for vice president even if I'm old. Nako po, tatakbong vice president. Matagal pa po yan, sir, vice president. 2028 elections pa yan. Anong petsa na, di ba? Medyo matagal na yan, no? So, sabi ni Duterte, look, you don't have a headache as of now. I'll be forced to come out of retirement. So, medyo nagte-threaten na siya open right now. And he's already looking at the prospects, no? Sabi niya, we don't want her to be impeached, referring to Sara Duterte. She does not deserve to be impeached, sabi niya. So clearly, there's a recognition of this threat coming out. So don't worry mga kameta, lahat yan pag-usapan natin dun sa mga upcoming RRL, RRM, RRC, with Christian, with Marco, with Leloy, with Ronaldo. Like, hopefully, pag-usapan natin yan. So what I tried to do today was just to give you an overview of the evolving landscape here and how important these developments are in terms of determining not only the course of justice in the Philippines, but also potentially the course of political dynamics dito sa Philippines, at saka yung mga alignments and realignments among others. Let me just end on this note, because speaking of ICC, there are also accusations that ICC, not naman double standard, but that ICC is not moving with the same speed on important issues. So as you know, last year, ang ICC po ay nag-release ng warrant of arrest for Putin barely a year into the conflict in Ukraine. So si Karim Khan, yung head ng ICC, very quickly nag-release siya ng warrants of arrest for Putin and also Maria Lvova-Belova, so some of the top leaders dyan sa Russia. And that raised some eyebrows, not because there was no basis for that per se, but because of the speed. And some are saying that if you look at the situation right now, whether it's if you look at the situation dun sa ibang parte ng mundo, no, whether if it's about tens of thousands of alleged EJKs to the Philippines, or as some put it, if it's about what's happening in Gaza right now. So there was actually a group of Malaysian lawyers who pushed for ICC case against the current leader of Israel because of what's happening in Gaza. So let's see what's going to happen on that front, because whether what's happening in the Middle East or what's happening in the Philippines, ICC for many, including kinausap natin si Attorney Carranza, they're moving too slow. Pero dun sa Europe, biglang ang bilis nila gumalaw, no? Even though I do believe that there is indeed a basis for the investigation into the situation in Ukraine because of the horrible things that Russia has done since invading that country. But yun nga parang medyo hindi patas Diba? If you're talking about tens of thousands of EJKs in the Philippines, if you're talking about more than 100 children being killed, right? In Gaza, among others, no? So and people are alleged. So the question is, nasa ng ICC? But of course, sasabihin ng iba, sasabihin ng ICC, we're talking about completely different circumstances here. But critics would say, what completely different circumstances? We're still talking about innocent lives. So on and so forth. So this is going to be a debate, and let's see how this is going to go on, and let's see also how ICC is going to respond to some of this criticism, and how ICC is going to discuss these issues. In the meantime, let's also see paano mag-evolve itong implosion of the unity team, or whether there will be attempts to patch things up before the end of the year or by early next year. On that note, thank you very much mga kameta. Maraming salamat. Yan na, dumadami na yung mga trolls natin dito. But again, see, I'm trying to be fair. I'm looking at the broader landscape. I'm looking at even criticisms of ICC, for instance. And at the same time, of course, we're also looking at the evolving position of the government, right? Is it all about principles or is it about expediency, right? And then, of course, interestingly, let's see what's going to be the next move by Digong, because more and more members of the PDP Laban are leaving Digong's party. So let's see what will be left of his party should he choose to run for office next year. Ako naman, I never underestimated Duterte. So I think the Vismin vote, I think the Visayas Mindanao vote and all is solid and strong. So I think a slot in the Senate is not going to be too hard for Digong, even if I think higa lang siya, wala siyang gagawin. May elect yan siguro sa Senate. But whether he'll top it and all, I don't know. I don't think Duterte is as strong and powerful as before, but I still believe he's popular enough to be a threat if he wants to really rock the boat. So let's see how things are gonna move on that front. On that note, thank you very much mga kameta. Maraming salamat sa lahat ng mga sumusuporta at nagmamahal sa atin. So tomorrow, please watch out. A little bit earlier in the day, in the late afternoon, we're hoping to interview Senator Laila De Lima also to get her views on things. I'll also try to interview one of the top lawyers of also Walden Bello and also have some updates on their case. And hopefully, we're also looking forward to launching dun sa isa pang new podcast natin. So we're hoping to launch a number of other podcasts kung may... Nako, kailangan ko na talagang production team. Sa West Philippines naman. So please stay tuned for a number of interesting discussion that we're hoping to have tomorrow. Maraming salamat. Thank you very much. God bless and talk to you soon.